welcome Barefoot family to another edition of Talking Barefoot. And today we are literally in the jungle. I mean, it is a jungle out there. And I have ended up in this incredible place in the Peninsula of Costa Rica. I'm in the middle of the jungle, the rainforest, but it's not just any old rainforest. This is the Jungle Gayborhood. How about that? It's like, is there any neighborhood we have not taken over? The Jungle Gayborhood is this incredible place. It has waterfalls. It has these cabins. It has a lot of hot naked men that you will be seeing in our calendar and our subscriber content, by the way. Just,
feral twinks.
Click. And feral twinks. Yeah. I love that. It has a lot of men who have come from all over the world with the intention to heal. So that's why I thought this would be a beautiful place to come to meet some of these men, to talk to them, hopefully to persuade them to take their clothes off, because that is what I do. And
well, the heat doesn't allow for much clothes either.
Well, I had a head start. So I thought it would be great to talk to some of the guys about their experiences here. And I'm starting with Eric and Esteban, who actually are working / volunteering / being themselves in this space, and I wanted to talk to you today about that. So first of all, let me say, well, I'm so happy to have you here. I'm in your space, but yeah, thank you for having me in your space, and thank you for coming into my space as well. That's what collaboration is all about. And I do want to give a little shout out to the Jungle Gayborhood, that you guys have looked after me incredibly well and supported me as a cause. So I'm very, very grateful to you for your hospitality. But this is not a paid promotion.
No.
This is not like Instagram. No. This is real.
We take our shoes off for you.
Oh, Eric, I've got to say, you took off more than your shoes this morning, and I loved it. So, and here we have Bodhi. I don't know if you can see them. Bodhi and Luna.
That's right. Yes.
See, I can't remember the names of any of the men, but the dogs, that's another matter. Anyway, we may be hearing from Bodhi and Luna throughout the podcast, so don't worry about that. They're just making themselves heard. And so let me start with Eric. Tell me a little bit about yourself and how you came to be here.
Sure. It's an interesting journey, in fact, that's quite recent. So I grew up in Georgia in the US. I was a rower, so that's how we serendipitously became connected. We had to come all the way 20 years and into the heart of the Diamante Valley here in Costa Rica to actually intersect. But I was a rower at the University of Georgia and found my way to San Francisco, but had a moment of clarity, threw my stuff into storage and came down to Costa Rica in August, went to Santa Teresa, found out about the Jungle Gayborhood, where I went to a retreat here in January entitled The Medicine of Eros with Mark Paradis, who's a wonderful Tantra teacher and healer. And it was concentrated and centered around sexual shame and dealing with a lot of shadow work. So while it was very intense and healing, it was not nearly as sexy as our shower shoot this morning. And
nothing's as sexy as my shoots, darling.
So, I was just really lucky to have found the Gayborhood, and I've been bouncing back and forth between Santa Teresa and here ever since, and I'm involved in an official capacity now, helping kind of vision and figure out what the next steps for us will be in our sort of collective journey.
Amazing. I'm going to come back to you on several points you've made there, which is great.
My snapshot.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Eric. And I love the fact that we have come back to rowing.
Yes, that's right.
I really love that. We started as the Warwick Rowers, and it's so much part of our history and our DNA and rowing. Only today I posted for International Women's Day, because we are filming on 8th of March, International Women's Day. So I posted a thing about, because the Vice President, a woman of World Rowing, was talking about how much rowing has come along in terms of equality and diversity.
Amazing.
And inclusion.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a women's.
Well, she's vice president. There's women's rowing. It's huge.
Of
Oh my
course,
God.
Really? Okay.
There's an incredible woman who supported me at a point in the Warwick Rowers calendar, who was the chair of British rowing. And she was an Olympic medalist in rowing. Yeah, an incredible woman. Anyway, Esteban, tell me a little bit about you.
Well, I was interested about this place first in the work with plant medicine ceremonies. I saw this post on Instagram and I was like, hey, well, this is actually people from the community that are founding this place in my country so people can come and heal. And that, for me, that was just like a call from the universe, to be honest. It was something that I was wishing to have an opportunity to participate in since my mid-20s. And it finally happened. I applied for the job of guest services, and that is what I do here. Just try to offer my help as much as possible to the people staying here, and offer them an experience that they will cherish for the rest of their lives.
Oh, that is so amazing. I mean, I want to come straight back to you, because you mentioned that this is your country. So, what age are you now, Esteban, if you don't mind me asking? You can be vague. I'm very vague.
No, I will be 33 this coming June.
Wow. I think there's something about the climate here that really, like, it's quite, people look young. Like,
Thank you. Thanks so much.
No, it's great. I think I might have to stay just for the skincare. You're looking great as well, by the way.
I'm 84. A young 84.
Oh, a very young 84. Young at heart. So how do you feel about the fact that Costa Rica has probably seen quite a lot of changes in your lifetime?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that and about how you feel about it.
For sure. Okay, so as a kid, I used to live in my own headspace, not really interact, especially with other boys. I would play with girls a lot. And soccer here, the sport is very... It's just in the culture. I mean, it was in my family since I was born, and I didn't see myself growing up to something like that, especially, well, sports were really, really important in my family. Just practicing a sport would give you discipline. And I found that in gymnastics, because it didn't involve a team. I would get my own score. I would strive for my own success. Yeah. And I wouldn't have to interact with other boys, which was what I had a struggle with growing up. So gymnastics was great. I felt that I could leave my heart on every single one of the tasks that I needed to complete in that regard. And but I started getting bullied because of it. Of course. So in school, it turned about that. It would be like, oh, okay, he doesn't play with us. He only plays with girls, and he does the sports that girls like. So he must be a girl, and he must be treated as if he's not one of us, and made fun of.
I think a lot of us have that experience in the sport. In the sporting space, if you like. I had that experience at school. I was not good at any sport. And I think it was such a subject that I failed at that I didn't even try. It's like, I'm not going to try at anything I can't win at. And I think the thing for me, looking back, is that I saw sport, and I think it was the case that sport was actually, this was your masculinity class. And I was never going to get a passing grade in being macho or
Aggressive.
following. Yeah, I could be aggressive, but not in that kind of
Particular way.
Yeah. And so I just was like, yeah, you want to flunk me? Yeah, go flunk yourself. And so you found your sporting outlet in gymnastics, but you got bullied for it. Did that change how you felt about it and how you pursued it?
At some point, but it was more important for me to build a social life going into high school that I gave up the sport.
There you go.
I was like, okay, now this is the time where I go out with my friends to the movies and see if a girl is interested. And you know what movies have, like when you go to the cinema, there's like a whole thing of couples, and I think I was trying that out growing up, but there was no changing.
Experimenting with heterosexuality the way a lot of men experiment with homosexuality. Right?
Yeah.
It's just a phase.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I never had like a real romantic interaction at the movies, but it was just like social life, and I needed to dive into social life to maybe get something out of it, hopefully a girlfriend. But for me, it was important to get out of my headspace and start interacting with other human beings on situations where it didn't involve them making fun of me, or being with the girls and just being comfortable and being one of them.
We have a charity called Sport Allies, which is about making sport a more inclusive space for everyone. And we did some research.
Is brunch a sport?
We've written to the International Olympic Committee about this very subject. Because I swear to God, I can drink more mimosas than pretty much any other man in my age group. Our research showed that they did a survey of English students, of UK students, United Kingdom, and LGBT plus participants in sport at university were twice as likely to do a sport that was not a team sport as the students from who were heterosexual athletes. So being LGBT meant that they were half as likely to participate in a team sport. And I think you've just really reflected the reality of that from your own lived experience, which is that you did not want to be part of a team because the boys didn't want you to be part of their team, and you didn't want to be part of that team either. Is that a...
Yeah, that's absolutely right. They thought that I didn't have the abilities they had.
Abilities.
Exactly,
right.
that I wasn't strong enough or tall enough. So it's just, okay, no, you do your thing and we'll have our laughs at it while in the moment, and just don't come near us, basically.
I mean, I once had the privilege of going to see FC Barcelona and have a seat right by the pitch. And there's a famous footballing star, and I don't want to get it wrong. I think it's Lionel Messi. And I think he's tiny.
Yeah.
Right?
Many of the football players are.
Right? So, like, them saying you weren't tall enough.
Well, maybe for other sports when I was in high school, like, I tried out, like, basketball or volleyball. I really liked volleyball, and it was a team thing.
Yeah.
When I was in high school and I had my interactions with my classmates at that point, I kind of gained acceptance. So I wanted to be part of a team right there. But for some reason, they would be like, oh, no, but you're too small, so you're getting all of the goals or whatever happens in volleyball. I don't remember.
Who cares?
So that would be another reason why they would like push me out. It's like, okay, you have our acceptance, you can hang out with us, but when it comes to like manly stuff or delivering in manly projects, then you're not.
It seems to me that that's the key thing that they thought you lacked: manliness. That was really, it wasn't about your height or your strength or your skills. It was this elusive, essential, nebulous thing, manliness, whatever that is.
Yeah.
So that is, thank you for sharing that, because I think that will resonate with a lot of, resonates with me.
Yeah.
And I think it will with a lot of people. And then Eric,
Hello.
you took part in, I think, one of the most fascinating team sports, because the thing that I've always admired about rowing and being part of the Warwick Rowers Project was my first time being in what I call a team. Like,
Yes.
it was like I was in a sports team. I was almost sort of the captain of the team, although not officially, but, you know, I was I provided a lot of the leadership in that project. And I'd never even been picked for a team. I was always the one at the end that was like, the teacher was like, well, somebody's got to have Angus.
Okay.
You know, so that was my experience of team sport. Was like, I would be standing there at the end and people would be fighting over who had, I don't want him either. And the teachers used to do that. Imagine, like, they would create that situation. But anyway, you put yourself in that world. Tell me how that was for you.
Well, I love the sport of rowing on its face. I just think that it's a really beautiful, elegant sport. And I grew up in the South in Georgia, and Southern rowing was a sort of newer phenomenon. It's typically reserved for the elite, obviously borrowed from the UK, right? So it funneled down through the boarding schools and then became bastardized in the South, as many things are.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean,
it just meant that we were more rough around the edges, maybe, to put it lightly.
you don't seem very rough to me, darling.
Okay,
But I mean,
well, I've refined myself. Here's the thing. So, it just, we're quite skilled, in fact, but we didn't have the money and the resources that some of our, the Ivy League and some of our other counterparts did in New England. We built our own boathouse. We built our own docks. We drove to find good open water because we aren't endowed with the rivers and lakes that New England has. So we just did a lot of our own work that a lot of the other more fully funded programs didn't do. I think that fortified our teams a lot and galvanized a lot of the camaraderie on the team. And I did eventually actually become captain. That's part of my story because it also coincided with my decision to come out as gay.
Right.
When I ran for team captain, which was going into my senior year at the University of Georgia, I decided that I didn't want to run for captain of the team without being out, because I felt like that element of inauthenticity would create a barrier to leadership.
yes.
So I was living with two men from the rowing team at the time, and I had actually packed a bag.
Was this in a throuple or just a house sharing
Yeah, I was,
arrangement?
right? Hello, Louis and Brendan, wherever you are. And I was sharing a room with my then roommate, Louis, who was the 6th seat. I was the stroke in the men's V8. And he, great guy. And so I had packed a bag, I remember this very vividly, in the room. And I was going to tell him that evening, like, that I was gay. And if he, and it's rowing, we had seen each other in spandex. We see each other naked all the time, right? So there's this, like, very homoerotic overtone to the whole sport. But at the same time, I'd never said anything. And I was going to go home if he really freaked out or something. And so I said to him,
You packed your bag.
oh, totally.
Wow.
Yeah. I was completely freaked out. I'd never told anyone before. So I said to him, like, Louis, I have something to tell you. I'm gay. And he said, Eric, I don't care. Just keep your erg score down. And so,
Now, for the viewers at home, what does that mean?
so the erg is the rowing machine that you use indoors to train on, and your 500-meter split is the time that they calculate for how to place you into boats. And so the lower that your erg score is, the faster you're rowing. over the 2,000 meters of a race. Does that help?
Okay.
Is that
I think that's it. Yeah.
adequate
So basically, he was
clarification?
saying, as long as you keep winning,
Correct. As long as you keep rowing well,
Yeah.
I don't care who you're having sex with.
Amazing.
And loving.
right? And was he kind of? Because I mean, of course, he might see this. So was he supportive?
Yes.
Right.
And
That's
the whole
incredible.
team was, in fact, and I think that that was the thing that was so encouraging. And, you know, I was both, it was like I was shocked but not surprised, I guess maybe is a good way to put it. They all knew who I was, and they just had this one extra piece of information about me at that point. But of course, this is the South 20 years ago. You know, it is different 20 years ago than it is now.
Oh, yeah.
I can still remember that person, you know, that sensation. So anyhow, thanks for letting me revisit that extra special moment in my
No,
life.
I mean, but I think it's because I think that the thing is that you put yourself in that how can I put it, that frame of team sport.
Yes.
Did you, because I think Esteban and I had the same experience of being sort of considered to not sufficiently manly. Did you, would you say that you were maybe better at hiding that, or I don't know.
No, that's a good question that I don't really know the answer to. I think because it is a performance-based sport, right, and I was able to perform, and that was what the metric was, maybe
Yeah.
there was an element where that didn't matter so much.
Right.
But I also spent a lot of time and energy and effort suppressing other parts of myself. So when Esteban is talking about gymnastics, I wanted to do gymnastics so badly when I was young,
Right.
and elected not to because I knew it was going to be a harder road because I saw people who were made fun of who did gymnastics. I also wanted to play the clarinet when I was younger and chose not to play the clarinet because I saw the one boy in school who played clarinet and was made fun of for it and bullied.
Wow.
And called and was gay. I wanted to do theater and I never did theater. You know, so I suppressed and avoided many things. I went so far as to not take French because I thought to take French was to be gay. So I took Spanish.
No, it really was.
Sí, no, it's super
I
gay.
mean, yeah. I totally
Yo
took
puedo
French.
hablar español muy bien.
Me too. Got 110 in French.
I actually read a poem about it. I read a poem about that.
And now I have to come all the way to the Costa Rican jungle at age 40 to undo and all of that trauma.
To take those heavy boots off.
Correct. But at least it got me to rowing.
So
Now this is getting interesting.
well, because what I'm hearing, and I think this is really interesting, is that you probably were not bullied for being effeminate, for being gay. You actually managed to stay on the line of acceptability within the male tribe.
As I spent as much of my energy as I could, and I still couldn't do it
Oh,
well
really?
enough. I mean, I still was bullied, but probably to the least degree possible,
I see.
if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
I mean, I spent so much of my time contorting myself into the most masculinized version of myself that
Yeah.
I could be.
Right.
But at what cost, right?
Of course.
You know, but at the cost of me being my authentic self.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I totally get that.
Modulating my voice, being aware of how I walked, being aware of, of how I moved through the world in nearly every way.
But that's so interesting because that actually happened to me when I went into college and when I came out.
What happened to you? Sorry.
That I had to contort myself, modulate my voice, become more masculine looking once I had came out. So other gay men would appreciate my masculinity and wanted to be with me.
Oh, that's a whole other thing. That's a really we're getting into it. So
Let's go.
Homophobia among the community.
Spilling the tea now.
Let's get right.
So yeah.
No fats, no fans.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. I mean, I kind of,
For a mask.
I've given up, and I kind of like, if you look at my Instagram now, it's like I put makeup on and post pictures of myself because it's like, I just don't care. I tried to be like attractive, I guess, and like it was like, no, you just, you're not. So it's like, okay, I'll find other ways of being, I don't know, of expressing my sexuality,
Yes.
and also connecting my sexuality to love. And that's, I think, what I did in what has become Barefoot Man. It was me connecting my sexuality to love because I wanted to express true love, and I couldn't get there with another man.
Right.
So I got there by associating my sexuality, which was like, it's like, I'm going to celebrate my sexuality. And these young rowers came along and said, yeah, we'll celebrate your sexuality with you. We'll stand here naked in front of you. So it was a celebration of my sexuality that connected into a message that was really about love.
Wow.
And is about love. And, you know, yeah, I think the thing is that a lot of gay men also fail to meet the standards of our own community, as well as not meeting the standards of the wider community.
Because guess what? No one can meet them.
Right?
So
Yeah, we need to change the rules.
yes. And I think the Gayborhood is a part of that. You know, your work is that work. I think aspirationally our work is part of that work.
Yeah.
And it seems like the folks that are attracted to both sets of what we're doing shows that there's a need for this and a desire for this kind of healing.
Absolutely.
And we're going about it in complementary ways, which is really interesting.
Completely complementary, and I love that. And I like, it's like, I really feel like the universe sometimes, I mean, I don't want to sound too woo-woo, but the universe sometimes I've seen how it's made incredible things happen in the WR project, Barefoot Man.
Sure.
And being here with you guys, being in the shoot with you this morning, feeling like, my God, I'm back in rowing. I'm back as part of a rowing team this morning with you. And the universe can sort of make things happen. I just feel like that. I mean, you know, it does. It's like, don't sue me. It's not about Father Sky. It really is not about Father Sky. You mentioned earlier, because you know, we're talking now about the Jungle Gayborhood and the intentionality here and what you guys are trying to do. And you mentioned, was it the medicine of Eros?
That's right.
Because I was talking about how I came to Barefoot Man through a need to express love. And I think that what I've created was never meant to be sexual, but it was definitely meant to be erotic. And was received by many people in that way.
Okay.
Tell me about your experience with the medicine of Eros, because I mean, I literally don't know what the answer is to this.
I know. Well, I don't know actually what I was drawn to specifically. I didn't know exactly what I was getting myself into when I chose to come. What I came away from it with was that the container that the Gayborhood provided, at least in this instance, because the Gayborhood does a lot of different things, was a space that was all queer. This was a singular experience because it had all of these elements. It was all gay men. It was in nature. It was technology free. It was highly intergenerational, and it was sober.
Wow.
And those 5 things have all never existed in the same space at the same time for me. I think I've always had a couple of those things, maybe 3 out of 5, maybe even 4 out of 5. And we covered a lot of things. And as I said, it centered around sexual shame and shadow work. And there was a lot of somatic work that happened as well, and sitting with the discomfort. And the facilitator was very skilled, again, a man named Mark Paradis. But the combination of those things, and I underscore the intergenerational aspect of it as well, because I think in our community there's a lack of proximity and dialogue between generations, particularly when talking about sex and intimacy. And so that was another element where we had, you know, millennials and even some Gen Xers and boomers all interacting in, you know, dialogue, but also sexual expression. And it was just beautiful, and with under the backdrop of, you know, the jungle.
Wow.
So it was really powerful in that way. And the second to last day was a 24-hour period of silence where we all had to stay in the same place at the same time, and we couldn't speak. And we could engage with each other in touch. No penetrative sex. Sorry, viewers. I don't know how far the line is with you all and language, but
I think we can say that.
Okay. And so it really wasn't sex-centric. It was more about, dealing with shame, dealing with things that had been hiding in the shadows for us, and that we were afraid to look at. And I really dealt with a lot. And we have parties here. We find other ways to connect.
Oh, don't I know it?
Yeah. So, I mean, we really do a lot of different kinds of healing and connection. But this was a very intense but meaningful experience. And as I said, those 5 things have never intersected in the in 1 week for me.
And now that you bring up the parties, I mean, I like the fact that, for example, we always have a suitcase full of women's clothing and wigs, so you can enjoy of that experience of putting those on and having your own femininity come through.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
Self-expression. I mean, you can do that with listening to a DJ and just dancing in the shala. I think that's amazing. And
Or just at
nobody's
dinner.
doing that, or dinner or yoga. I mean, I've seen people in skirts. Or using makeup. It's everything you want to do. You're welcome to do it here. If it brings you joy, if you feel self-love and you want to bring that and show it to the rest of the community, of course.
Oh,
Right,
it makes
and
me
so
want to.
that little boy who didn't do gymnastics, who didn't play the clarinet, who didn't take French, can come here and do his nails and swing on a silk and whatever, and that is really healing, in the presence of other supportive men.
Oh, fantastic.
And queer women who we have here on site as well. So it's really beautiful.
Yeah, it's just a miracle.
So I mean, I'm very keen for us to do some kind of collaboration.
Yes.
I want a Barefoot Man retreat here in this space. I mean, I'm envisaging. Thank you. Envisaging a thing, because it's like in our project, like I remember one of the rowers came to me, I can't remember how long ago it was now, but he said, Angus, why don't we try and get more gay men naked in the project? I'm like, well, interesting. I mean, we've always worked with this team, but now that we're going beyond the team, we could certainly do that. But isn't this supposed to be like straight men being allies of gay men? And he was like, oh, okay. And then I thought about it. And then I thought, oh, no, he's right. He's right. Straight men can be allies of gay men by getting naked with gay men. Because I think that one of the things that gay men can learn in that situation is that being naked together doesn't always have to be about sex.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And I think that for straight men, it can be about learning that they are not always the guys looking at the menu. They can be on the menu.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've had that feedback from
And
straight,
they can also realize that it's not about sex. I mean,
well, for them, it never was.
Or that, there is that element of the reverse male gaze almost. Like, I mean, there is this element of like in the gym locker room, straight men not wanting gay men to be looking at them in that way.
Yeah.
You're right.
That's what our project set out to challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that it's very interesting because here in Costa Rica, they have even different words. So now in society, men can think that another guy is handsome, but they say, es que ese más tipo. Like the word is tipo. They change because they would never say,
Guapo.
Guapo.
Mm-hmm.
Guapo is like I'm hitting on you. Pero si sos tipo, it's just like, oh, cool.
We have a word in English. I don't know if you use it in America, but we use it in England, hench. And it's what the rowers would say. He's really hench. And hench means like built, muscly. It's kind of, it's like,
I guess
it
we
is.
say swole. Is that the equivalent?
I have no idea.
But it just means he's like really big.
No, it's not just big. I don't think.
Say tipo.
Tipo.
I don't know.
Uy, qué tipo. So it sounds so weird, right? I mean, why don't they just guapo?
Then it's
name
super
it what
gay.
it is, you know?
So they have to kind of express their sexuality at the same time as they're appreciating another man.
Yeah,
They have to say,
Correct.
I'm appreciating this man, but not sexually.
exactly.
Well, it's a new evolution of the no homo phenomenon, right? That epilogue of the no homo. It's like I can say something, but I'm not gay. It's like the wink, wink, but I'm not gay, right?
Oh, yeah,
The
absolutely.
new evolution of that.
No, I completely get that, and that's very interesting. And language fascinates me. I studied languages, did linguistics and stuff, and so words are actually my first love. And then I realized there's a Hollywood dictum, which is nobody ever sleeps with the writer. So,
Never get laid.
I thought let's try photography, but, and I have to say that didn't work out either because
Do we have to
everybody.
be below the line?
Well, sorry.
We have to be above the line or below the line?
Well, I just had to be kind of always behind the line. That's where I had to be, behind the line. So, and that was fine. I would rather be behind the line than cancelled.
Okay, right.
So, but yeah. I mean, people would say to me back in the day, "Oh, you have the best job in the world." It's like, no. I'm in the middle of Harrods and I have no credit card. So it's like, what's the point of that? But of course, there were a lot of points to it. So getting back to the Jungle Gayborhood, just wondering how long we've been going. We've been going for a while, I reckon. I have no idea. I can't tell. But I need people. So,
We only have animals.
Where are you, Tom? Come visit us at the Gayborhood.
Bring gays.
actually, I talked to Tom on the phone yesterday, and I was showing him my cabin down in the Peninsula, where I'd originally planned to do shoots, and that didn't work out, and it's off grid, and it was a nightmare. And he's like, "Oh, that's my dream place." And I was showing him this place, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll come and I was like, "Tom, pretty sure if you turn up at the Jungle Gayborhood, you're gonna have to get naked." And he's like, "We'll have to think about that." So he's gonna be editing this. So yeah, don't ever say anything to me, Tom, that you don't want to be repeated on camera. But is the lesson here. But
If you're curious about more of what we do, Esteban has more of a historical knowledge
Oh,
than
well,
I do.
tell us about the
Yeah.
history of this place. Now, I am hopefully going to do a podcast with Shelby and Jose.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll leave some territory for them.
For sure.
But tell me about how you came to Yeah, I mean, you spoke briefly, I think, about how you applied for a job here.
Right. So basically, now social media is how humans connect the most, sadly. And I had met, now that you mentioned him, Jose, a lot of years ago. And just following him on Instagram, I saw the posts of the place and the kind of work that was being done here. And I wanted to come for a retreat. I wanted to see what it was. I recognized there was healing in me that I need to move through in order to find my own happiness. And I tried doing that, but at that point I couldn't. I think something happened job related that I couldn't attend. And they just started looking for volunteers. So that was a clear cry from the universe saying, okay, this is the place where you can come and volunteer your work. And finally, I saw that they were also looking for job positions. And I was like, okay, maybe all of this background that I have in customer service might serve me for something that I actually believe in. And that's how I got here.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And so you have promised to get naked for Barefoot Men.
Yes, I have.
Amazing. I'm excited about that. I'm not going to make you do it now because this is for YouTube. But yeah, do click on the link below if you want to see Esteban naked.
Oh my
Esteban.
God.
I mean, it could be up here. I don't know. I'm still getting the hang of this stuff. I mean, I'm a borderline boomer. I'm a borderline lot of things, actually. But you have committed to getting naked. Are you excited about that?
Of course, I'm always excited of getting naked.
Oh, right. Okay. So it won't be your first rodeo.
No, it won't.
Okay.
My friends in high school would say that I got naked more times than they wanted me to.
Oh.
Wink, wink.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
The superlative would have been most likely to get naked, but she had already been naked so many times. So.
Yeah, because maybe, well, in Costa Rica, it's not that common that you share a shower with someone.
Oh, really?
Like doing sports. No, everything is very restrictive, probably because they know what would happen if they would put us together. So yeah, I never had that actual experience of having showers at high school and showering with
the communal showers.
Exactly.
Wow.
That doesn't happen, at least in my high school growing up in the 90s. So yeah. Doing it here was kind of like a first thing. Because we do have the group shower if someone wants to have that experience,
right?
Or also private ones. But just doing the group thing, I was like, oh my God, this is so liberating, you know? I mean, I'm literally here around people showering, and we're just like sharing about our days. And look at this blooming flower that we have. It's red with its butterfly, and it's amazing. It's just a magical place.
Okay, amazing. Well, I'm looking forward to taking your nakedness to a whole new level in terms of being accessible to the world. Because you're really getting naked in front of the world when you get naked at Barefoot Man.
Ooh, love it.
Yeah? You like that idea?
Let's do that, for
sure. And Eric, you have already done it. I know, lucky me, right?
I was excited, am excited, remain excited.
Well, I mean, when I met you last night, I think within 5 minutes, I'd said, how do you feel about getting naked? And you were like, yeah, sure. I mean, it was so...
You caught me at a very particular interval in my evolution, so...
That's the
universe. I don't even know if I would have been shirtless for this interview prior to my time in Costa Rica, so...
Well, isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I have a great friend in Spain, this woman who is like the wisest... one of the wisest women I know, because I have a lot of wise women around me and they really guide my life. And she always says, Angus, timing is everything, and it is.
I know, I never used to believe those people, but apparently they're right.
Oh, they are right.
So
they are
annoying.
right. She's always right.
True.
So that's amazing. So I asked you at just the right time.
Yeah.
And we have got beautiful shots.
Thank you. Yeah, I look forward to it.
Yeah, and I think I also did some amazing shots with Shelby and Jose, and I'm going to do some more tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because I've managed to blag another night. And
we're happy to have you.
Thank you.
It's amazing. It's just
And because I kind of crept in a little bit quietly, didn't I? Right? I mean, I was like, I didn't turn up for the party, really. I came for the dinner, and then I went and listened to the music, chilled out, did my own thing. While Tommy and Tyler were kind of
doing their own thing.
And
more on that soon.
more on that in another episode. Yes. But Tommy and Tyler and I set up to do a podcast in Santa Teresa, and then tropical stuff got in the way.
As it often does.
Which reminds me, I have to come back to Pura Vida. But so was that the first time that you've got naked on camera in that way?
It is.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it is. I think I've gotten a much more comfortable in my own skin, much more comfortable in my body, much more willing to just be who I am. And what that means is being in a comfortable container.
Yeah.
And this is not necessarily representative of the real world, but it is a place where I can come, express myself, and then bring the lessons that I've learned out into the world and feel safer being who I am, which is frankly a good person.
Right.
and not threatening to myself or others, and kind of just have, I don't know, it's one of those things where when I tell the folks that I'm talking to outside what I'm learning in here and what I've been through and what I'm taking away from this place, they're like, yeah, duh, the things we've been telling you all the time, that you're great and that we love you and that we support you. But until you believe it for yourself, right, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And so the shoot today was really fun, and I wasn't self-conscious, and I hope that you got great shots, and I hope that they will be out in the world. And
I got
you know,
amazing shots, and they for sure will be out in the world.
and finally, my dream of becoming a game show host will be realized somehow.
Oh, you could be a game show host on Barefoot.
Great. I look forward to it.
Wow.
I can see that in your future
the
for
Costa
sure.
Rican jungle to God's ears.
I love that, because I like, honestly, when I was a kid, like, my mother would have those catalogs, the big catalogs. That,
of course.
This is before the internet. Sorry, your mothers probably didn't have these. Cause
We're not so far in age. Again, intergenerational dialogue.
Well,
Let's
yeah,
go.
I'm glad we were able to have it. Okay, fair enough. Your mother definitely had those catalogs. Okay. And so I've talked to a friend of mine who's an artist in London about this, about how we used to look through our mother's catalog, and we'd go straight to the men's underwear section.
Of course, naturally.
Yeah, I would do that with I would do that with my sister's Vogues.
Right? Yeah.
All I
exactly.
have was Sears.
Oh God, we're all pre-internet, obviously.
We did what we could.
I used to kind of dream of seeing those guys naked, but also like the handsome game show host naked.
Listen,
Eric,
it was good, clean fun.
You could do. Well, you have done that for me. You did that for me this morning.
So
you
glad.
gave me the naked game show host, that hot guy that my mother would be like. I mean, she didn't actually stick her tongue out. She was too much of a lady. Oh, Luna, hello.
Which was she giving, like, Dick Clark, Bob Barker energy?
Well, I was in the UK, but it was kind of, who would it have been? Nicholas Parsons. He was very smooth and gentlemanly.
R would be Ryan Seacrest. Yeah, we would like binge on Idol.
Yeah, I mean, I know about that guy, and I've seen the occasional picture of him, and I know he's sort of seen as a.
And what's your grandmother's
guy.
name?
My mother's name?
It was your grandmother who watched the
no.
game shows, or your mother?
Oh, my darling, my grandmother. There wasn't TV in my grandmother's
That's right. Okay,
day.
so what's your mother's name?
Marion.
Okay, so Marion, hello, Marion.
Right.
I'm here for you.
She wanted me to be a leader of a movement,
and here you are.
I am. It all worked
She
out.
should have been more specific.
She had a church in mind, and I kind of feel like
again, she should have been more specific.
She was close enough.
That's right.
It's a belief. Right. It's a spiritual pathway.
That's right.
And talking of without walls, that's the other thing that I love about here, is the way there are no walls.
That's right.
There are no walls, there are no doors, there are no locks.
Well, we have locks.
Yeah.
If you want
I haven't
them.
seen it. I haven't seen them, but
just if you want them.
Right. That's a whole other kind of lock.
Correct.
So, well, look, guys. I think we've covered a lot.
Yes.
We've covered a lot of ground.
And Eric, I want to thank you so much for taking part. The shoot this morning was amazing, and it's been amazing how I came here. For a couple of days, I pretty much just kept quiet, and I didn't say to anybody, here's what I do. And then last night, I was just like, yeah, I do this. And like, I think I've shot 6 guys today. So that's been really awesome. And it was like, it really was a lesson in things find their moment.
Yeah.
And I think that we have all found our moment as men to do what we need to do to change who we are and go forward on our pathways. And I'm glad that our pathways intersected here at the Jungle Gayborhood. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Amazing.
Pura vida.
Pura Vida. Oh, postcode. Tell us about Pura Vida.
Well, it was
Postcode? PS. Postscript. Jesus, Angus, come on.
it's just kind of like a filler. Now people use it just as a filler to express that I'm agreeing with you, that I'm feeling fine. But it really started with being much more than that. Here in Costa Rica, people are very lively. Before the social media and internet hit, people were very touching. It's like, how are you doing? Y ay, ¿qué le pasó? It's like,
affectionate.
It's so affectionate, and I think that is something that we should never lose as a culture. It's happening because we are globalizing with the rest of the world. But one of these days we were just like dancing salsa, and I remembered when I used to do that in growing up in high school, and it was just amazing. It reminded me of my roots, and if I could also put something in Pura Vida, is that we shouldn't forget that we also live with nature out here. Costa Ricans and everyone in the world should know that we should have more contact with the jungle. People don't use the word jungla in Latin America because they might feel that it has something despective to it. And
Disrespective? No, sorry, I'm not.
I don't know if that word
What
exists.
word do you mean?
In español?
En español es despectivo.
Despectivo.
Yes, it's like la jungla is something that you go when you don't have resources. And we should be focused on the fact that actually the nature is what provides all of the resources that we cherish in the supermarket.
It's derogatory, I think.
Right.
Derogatory.
Probably the word.
Thank you. That's exactly the word that I was looking for.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So being jungle or being in the jungle is like, that's something shameful to get away from.
Exactly. So that's why people run to the
gosh.
cities so they can live in their apartments. And we as a culture, at least for Costa Ricans to know, and everyone in Latin America, that shouldn't be lost. We should be able to get our own spaces and come and have our personal interaction with nature, because we have lost that.
And there is a thing, I think, that in UN indexes and stuff, I should have done some homework, but I was never very good at doing my homework. I mean, it is one of the most ecologically diverse, one of the most biodiverse places on the planet.
4% of the biodiversity in the world is here.
Wow.
In a tiny country.
Yeah.
Right?
Relatively.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're probably the size of Manhattan and Brooklyn. The whole country.
Yeah. I mean, it is an extraordinary place, and I have really felt that energy of gentle lovingness, which has been beautiful. And so it's an energy that a lot more men need to experience, and I'm really glad that we're able to do it here, and that your country has welcomed us. I mean, probably the first time you shouldn't have been so welcoming, but we kind of tended to turn up a little bit uninvited. So, it was difficult for people. They didn't like to be rude. And we went a lot of places on that basis, right? We crashed a lot of people's parties. But there we are. Here we are in Costa Rica today, reconnecting with nature, reconnecting with each other. Thank you again.
Yeah.
Okay. Pura vida.
Pura vida.
Pura vida.